Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to create a Happy Mail card using Clearly Besotted. The stamp set that I'm using today is the To the Moon and Back and then the Shoot for the Moon stamp set. Now I have die cut an A2 size piece out of Stencil Perfect coloring paper using the basic rectangles from my elephant, and I took also, aside from the stamps, also the 6 aside stencil from Clearly Besotted. Now I first laid everything out, and once I was happy with placement, I stamped out the images using Ink on 3 Fadeout Noline coloring detail ink, and now I'm using some Inkadinkado stamping mask paper to get some masks going on. So I'm just stamping it out with black, and at the same time I'm also stamping out the sentiment in black. And then I will have to fussy cut these masks out. And once that's done, I can continue with all the rest. Now, normally I start with the coloring, then go to the background, and so on and so on. Now, here, before doing anything, I first added the details, because, well, with Copic markers, I have the idea that often I lose the details while I'm coloring the face or anything like that. So I decided to do that first using a Copic Multiliner black. And once that's done, I'm continuing with those masks. But about the background, about the coloring. Normally I start with the coloring. I think that's the most difficult part, and there is more room to mess it up, if I can say it like that. It's really harsh, but okay. So normally I color first, but here you have that bubble around the mouth that is like floating in space, and there are several ways to color it in. I was not sure if I wanted to color it in with the color of the galaxy that I was going to make, but it's a really simple one today. Or if I wanted to color it in that mint green that I really like. So I just decided to first create that galaxy and see how it turned out, because I was planning on going really soft, and then maybe see if I had also those blue markers in my Copic collection, because I didn't want it to be another blue than what I could create with my distressing, so just doing that first. So I added some squeezed lemonade around the stars just to give it that glow. I'm going to go over that yellow with blue so it won't be as bright, and if you go back and forth between your colors, you can not sometimes, but well, if you work like me, then you can go over the area that you first originally had with the yellow and make it a bit more vibrant there as well. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'm not trying to avoid that glow. So I'm also keeping this background really simple, because my last galaxy I realized that my distress inks are getting a bit dry. No worries, I ordered a few refills already, not everything was available, but that's also why I decided to go with these colors and not go a bit too much with all those colors behind it that you can also do, but just keeping it simple. So I'm taking now my designer gouache, this is permanent white from Winsor and Newton, and I'm slightly diluting it so that I can splatter it around. Also, this paper that I'm using, the Stencil Perfect coloring paper, it's not made for water, so I need a bit of a thickness, as well as if you don't want your gouache to get a bit translucent after splattering, then it's all about the amount of water that you're adding, in my opinion. So if you keep that in mind, then you will have white splatters. So now I removed all the masks and I'm going to color these images in. Now the stars are quite similar, except this one I first added a coat of the lightest color, just actually to be able to see where the image was, because it's hanging inside of my background, and it wasn't as simple, but the others I will just go from darkest to lightest. And I will do them exactly the same. So here is a bigger one, and I just love these stars. They are bubbly. They are not harsh stars. They are not pointy or anything, and I really like that about these stars from Clearly Besotted. They are cute this way. So I'm just adding all the Copic markers. Also here I was quite subtle with the darker colors, but I will get it further and further inside of it, because well, it was a bit too much of the really light one. So flicking it this time to just get that blending easier going. And we are just moving along in this image. The last star, I am not going to show you how I colored it, because it's exactly the same way as this one, except that it's smaller again, like the first one. But once that was done, I could really continue with the mouse, and therefore I'm using some warm grays. But as you might have seen here, slightly, and on the stem set, there is some stitching details that makes this mouse a bit plushy. Now, while I was coloring with my Copic markers, it sort of got lost. But I didn't want to have it in black, because it was just going to be too harsh, I thought. So because of that, I went over it later on with some pencils, and then I ended up using the pencils on the mouse entirely. We will get there later. But here, as you can see, I have several warm grays that help me with the depth of this image. Now, where the bubble is around the head of the mouse, there I am not going to go as dark as here, just to have a difference going on between wearing the helmet and not. So that's a difference that you will notice. Here I use way darker warm grays than on the head itself. So we went back and forth quite often, because I really wanted enough depth, having this as a Noline colored image. Sometimes it's a struggle, and then you just need to keep going until you're happy, but then afterwards using the pencils also helped me with having that depth and shadow that I was after. So if you have difficulties with that with your markers, then definitely grab your pencils that you have at home. You don't need the whole collection, it can really help to get the right tone, but if you just really softly use your pencils, then maybe it's just enough to get that end result that you want. So here I have my first layer, and as you can already see, this is way lighter than the belly and the arms that I said before. But it's just to have that difference between where there is a helmet or the bubble around the head and where not. And once the ears are done, I'm going to contemplate what I'm going to use on the helmet. So here I have my hex chart. It's from Sandy Elnock. You can find it on our site. It's not that expensive, and you can print it on the paper you use always for your Copic markers. That's handy. This way you really see the possibilities of that marker. Now I contemplated about having that bubble in the same color as the background, as I said in the beginning. Now I ended up using my favorite minty greenish bluish color, which is this one, and I'm really glad that I did, although I still want to try that other way out as well. Just don't know when I have the time for that, but already glad that I tried it this way. So I have that bubble. I'm slightly avoiding the edge of the bubble with the darkest color, and then I'm just blending my way towards the lightest, and then just on the edge where I avoided the image, or the lines of the image, I am going to go over that edge using one of the lighter markers. And that's actually how I created this sort of bubble. I'm not an expert in it. There are some wonderful Copic coloring classes. Also, I think it's Amy that is coloring like on a weekly basis on Facebook. She has some amazing skills that I cannot top or even get close to. but we can dream. No, but if you want to learn how to color crazy, then there are other people, of course. This is the easy self-taught way that I think is doable for everyone. So here you can see that there are those stitching details, and I first tried to add them with just a pencil, but then I didn't like it. So I took my Polychromos pencils to help me a bit more, and I ended up using the 235 and also the 233, and I'm really glad with the addition of it. Just for the stitching it was also fine, but well, sometimes you just keep going, and that's what happened here. But I'm making sure that I have still a big difference between the face and the body. I'm just really softly sketching a bit of this pencil on top of it. I'm also going from the darker area and slowly getting more into the area that I might want to add a bit more of dimension or shadow, just to keep the transition. And then having this colored in, I'm going to add my panel on a card base, and then I will finish off this card by adding some glossy accents. I just thought that, well, with the bubble or the helmet, it was perfect to add glossy accents on top of that. And then of course I couldn't stop there, so I also added glossy accents onto the stars, and well, then there aren't any images left, so I kept the glossy accents to those four areas. But I think it adds so much more. It really gives that idea of that helmet, a see-through helmet from Gloss or anything like that, and I really like that. Also the stars, having a bit more shine on stars isn't a bad thing. I could have also added some stickles, but I just thought keeping it simple this way, just using one extra element. And then this card is finished. So here I'm just going to fix a bit of the sides of the stars. And then I still need to do the little one. But I'm not adding anything more. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and of course that you like the end result. I'm super happy that you stopped by and watched this video. I really appreciate that. If you like this video, you can always give it a thumbs up. I would truly appreciate it. If you have any questions, you just leave them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I hope you have an amazing day left, and I will be back soon with some new craft inspiration. Bye!